When the door slammed shut with a thunderous crash that seemed to shake the whole house, Linda knew this wasn't just another fight. This was the end. She stood in the kitchen, gripping a wooden spoon as if it could keep her from collapsing. On the stove, soup simmered in a pot, the same soup she'd made every Sunday for the past 20 years. Chicken, carrots, a pinch of thyme. The soup her daughter Emily used to call hug soup when she was little. Now Emily was 28, and there hadn't been any hugs in a long time. But the soup still simmered, as if Linda hoped that if she kept making it long enough, her daughter would one day return to the table and say, "Mom, I'm sorry. I just didn't know how to tell you." But tonight wasn't about apologies. You keep sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. Emily had shouted just a minute earlier, standing in the kitchen doorway, fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. "I'm a grown woman. I have a job, an apartment, a life of my own. Why can't you just let go? Because I'm your mother." Linda's voice cracked like an old guitar string. "And when you do something that's tearing you apart, I can't stay silent." "I'm not falling apart," Emily snapped, stepping forward. "I'm choosing a different path. Not yours. Not Dad's. Mine. And if you can't accept that, maybe we really don't have anything left to say to each other. You're throwing everything away. Your career, your relationships, even the house we helped you buy." Linda felt tears welling up but held them back. Crying now would mean losing. "I'm not throwing it away. I'm changing. And if you can't understand that, then maybe you're right. Maybe there's nothing left to talk about." And then the slam of the door. Linda slowly sank into a chair. On the table sat 3 bowls. 3. Because her husband, Richard, was due home from work in 15 minutes. He was always late on Sundays, either from client meetings or just because he liked to drive around the outskirts until dark. But tonight, he knew dinner mattered. Tonight, they were supposed to talk to Emily, really talk, without shouting, without blame. They'd even agreed, "No, you shoulds, only we want to understand." But the conversation had gone off the rails. Linda reached for her phone. On the screen was Emily's last message, sent 2 days ago. "Mom, I've been thinking, maybe I'll leave for a few months. California. There's an opening in art management. Not law. But it's what I've always dreamed of." Linda hadn't replied right away. She'd waited for Richard. They'd discussed it. And together, they'd decided it was madness. Emily had graduated from a top law school. She had a stable job at a prestigious firm, a reputation, a future. And now art management? At 30? After 10 years of school and internships? "She's lost her mind," Richard had said, pouring himself a glass of bourbon. "This isn't serious. It's an escape. But what if she really hates what she's doing?" Linda had asked carefully. "So what? Who among us actually does what they love?" He'd shot back. "We work to live, not the other way around." That was the heart of it. Emily wanted to live in order to work. They worked in order to live. And the chasm between generations seemed to grow wider by the day. The key turned in the lock. Richard walked in, took off his jacket, tossed it over the back of the couch, and immediately sensed the tension in the air. "She left?" he asked, not looking at his wife. Linda nodded. "Again over California?" She said, "We can't understand her. That we're meddling in her life." Richard sighed heavily and sat across from her. He picked up a spoon and tasted the soup. It was too salty. Linda hadn't even noticed. "Maybe we really are meddling," he said quietly. Linda looked up. "Are you taking her side?" "No. But maybe we've assumed too long that we know what's best for her. We're her parents. We watched her grow up. We know what she's capable of. But does she know what she wants?" Richard gazed out the window. Dusk was already gathering beyond the glass. "Or are we just afraid she'll make a mistake?" Linda fell silent. Because she was afraid. Afraid Emily would leave and never come back. Afraid she'd be disappointed, broken, alone. Afraid that their whole life, the stability, the house, the Sunday dinners, would turn out to mean nothing to her. "Remember her first day of school?" Linda suddenly asked. She cried, clung to my hand, and then let go and said, "I'll go by myself." And she walked away, without looking back. Richard smiled faintly. I stood by the window thinking, God, she's so brave. And now I wish she were still that little girl who's scared of the dark and asks for a lullaby. We can't hold on to her, Linda whispered. No matter how much we want to. Silence settled between them like fog. The old grandfather clock on the wall, a wedding gift from Emily's grandmother, ticked steadily. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Time moved on. And their daughter was leaving. The next morning, Linda woke early. Richard had already left for work. On the kitchen table lay a letter. Not an email. A real one on paper, in an envelope with her name on it. Emily's handwriting neat, but trembling slightly. Asterisk Mom. I'm sorry I left so abruptly. I didn't mean to yell. It hurts that you don't believe in me. You believed in me when I got into college. You believed when I won that case. But you don't believe me when I say, I want to be happy in my own way. I'm not abandoning you. I'm just trying to find myself. And maybe one day you'll understand, happiness isn't just stability. Sometimes it's risk. Sometimes it's falling. But without that, there's no flying. I love you. I always have. And I always will. Emily asterisk. Linda folded the letter and placed it in the dresser drawer, next to a childhood photo of Emily, dressed as a bumblebee, grinning ear to ear. A week later, Emily left. Linda and Richard saw her off at the airport. They hugged. They didn't say, don't go. They said, take care of yourself. And that was the hardest part. 2 months passed. Linda received occasional texts. It's sunny here. Found an amazing coffee shop. First day at my new job. No emotions. No details. Just facts. Then, one day, a photo arrived. Emily stood in front of an art gallery, holding a glass of wine, wearing that same smile, the one from the bumblebee photo. Linda showed it to Richard. She's happy, he said. Yes, Linda replied. And it hurts. But it's right. They stopped making Sunday soup. But every Sunday, they still sat at the table together. In silence. And in that silence, something new grew. Not resentment, not fear, but acceptance. Because being a parent isn't just about protecting. Sometimes, it's about letting go even when your heart is breaking. Especially then. Because sometimes, letting go is the final, most profound act of love.